Thank you for turning to page 121. Today on page 121, we go behind the screen. Some tips for DMs in pretty much all role-playing games. I've been DMing D&D for over 40 years. I've been the primary DM in our campaign for all of that time. I do about 90% of our games. Every once in a while, one of my players will take over for a couple episodes, just to let me have a little break and enjoy being a player character. So that's a long time to do anything, and I've gained a few insights into what to do and what not to do. So I thought I'd share a few of those ideas today. These are just my opinions, just the way I set the game up and the way I run it. So really what you're seeing here is truly a behind the scenes look. This is pretty much always how I start out. I pull out a scattering of dice that I'll need for the night. I always put a few figures behind the screen, ones I don't want the players to notice before the encounter, and my notes. My notes are somewhat extensive. I use them more as an outline than anything else, and as you can see, as the game progresses, I scratch stuff off, I write notes, things like that. If you notice, these are the notes to the game that I did the pre-cap and recap of a few weeks ago, my 4th level game. These are the primary notes that I used. Now I changed some of the stuff on the fly. I am not bound by my notes. In fact, that's one of the most important things that I find as a DM, is I'm never ever bound by my notes. If I have an idea and I've written it down, and then it comes along that the players want to do something different or have a better idea, well, I just kind of adapt and go from there. We call it winging it. I have winged many games. So I'm going to give a few other things that we do in our campaign and ways that I DM, and hopefully make it enjoyable for my player characters as they trudge along through this wonderful life of AD&D. One of the first things I try to do as a DM is recognize the fact that these are grown people with lives, families, jobs, everything, who've carved out a little bit of their free time to come over and play basically a silly game. To that end, I really feel obligated to show the players to have fun. I want them to enjoy themselves. I want them to want to come back. I must be doing something right. I've had some of the players in my campaign for over 30 years. And not just my wife either, although she does continue to play and has since we were dating back in the early 80s. Both my sons join us, and 3 good friends join us. The newest of the 3 good friends has been with us for 25 years. So, again, I think I'm doing something right. They keep coming back week after week. We try for a Tuesday game. We play between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. Every once in a while, we'll squeeze in a Saturday game. Those will generally run from about 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. We only get about 2 or 3 of those in a year. The other games are just the 3-hour games on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, depending on everybody's schedule, and we go from there. The primary thing, as I said, that I remember is that these are people who've carved out a little bit of their free time to come on over and play a silly game. I try to make it fun. I try to engage their characters and engage them with their characters. There is a difference. Engaging the characters is giving the characters something interesting and new to do. Engaging with the characters, give the players something to kind of goof around with that maybe they hadn't thought about with their character before. For instance, a paladin in a campaign of ours was a very good paladin, very prototypical paladin, but eventually found his way to actually being more like a sheriff. Throughout the course of the campaign, they were in a wilderness area. He found himself as being the law wherever he walked, so he kind of became a sheriff. That's the kind of thing that you try to do to develop the characters. We do not engage in massive backstories before the player characters hit the table. We'll give a little bit of a thumbnail sketch, usually consisting of race, where they were born, and if they have any siblings. That's pretty much it. We let the rest develop organically as the campaign moves on. I found this to be a really good way to do it, and by about 5th level, everybody has pretty good character backstory fleshed out. Moving on from that, the characters also can develop around magic items or skills that they develop. Player character with a dancing sword can actually develop around the dancing sword more than he or the DM intended. So it's something I try to keep open and let the players have some fun with, and we go from there. Another thing I try to do in my game is recognize the players when they play well. Now, my players almost always play well. It's a very experienced group. They know the rules. They know how I think, although I think I still surprise them now and again. But I also like to reward them. And in our game, we reward them in a rather silly way that's really caught on. It's 100 experience points. If anybody ever comes up with a suggestion, a plan, an idea that's really just really good, in our game, the DM will say, take 100. That means you get 100 experience points for having come up with an innovative idea. This has actually become counting coup amongst my players, with pretty strong rivalries as to who gets the first take 100 of the night and who gets the most. Our record is 10. My oldest son played an absolute lights-out game where he frankly beat me as the DM. He came up with a way around my wicked trap that was ingenious. And throughout the course of developing the idea and going through the play, he was awarded 10 of these. That's the record at our table. Take 100 has become standard talk at our table. It's also become standard talk at our house and amongst our friends. If we're watching a movie or a video on YouTube and somebody has a clever insight or something intelligent to say about it, very often someone in the group will just look at them and say, take 100, I like that. Take 100 is an innocuous little way to reward good play at the moment. It doesn't hurt game balance, even in brand new character campaigns. And the highest campaigns I've ever run, players still proudly write down the 100 points on their sheet. As I said, it's a bragging point in our group, and it's one we've all come to enjoy. Let's talk a moment about character deaths. Yes, they happen. And they happen, well, not a lot. AD&D is notorious for the frequency of TPKs, or total party kills. It's something that the game was known for in the early days, and something I used to engage in quite a bit. I try to avoid TPKs, because again, I recognize these are adult people who've carved some time out to spend in a game, and nobody really wants to get kicked in the teeth for that. But that being said, there are times when player characters just don't make it. Sometimes it's the dice, sometimes it's just bad luck, it's circumstance. That's the guy that fell into the pit, and he rolled very badly on a saving throw. They do happen. Resurrection, of course, is a thing in D&D, as is reincarnation. Sometimes, however, total party kills happen, and then it's time for new characters. Every one of my players has experienced this, including me. They happen. I try to avoid total party kills if I can. I always build an encounter with an exit. I always tell my players there is nothing in my game that automatically will kill you. Sometimes the way to get out of a situation is to frankly run. If they don't engage in that, then they may die. Those are choices that they make. I do not kill player characters lightly, especially long-established 10th and 12th level ones. But I have, as my friend who had an 18th level wizard reading a scroll, and he rolled a 0-1 on his chance to mess up the scroll, and he did, and was turned to dust. That particular player was without that character for a year in real time, as the other characters in the group tried to find a way to get him back through a wish. It was a long campaign, a very arduous campaign, in which the player that was killed played a different character, but they were finally able to find the means to bring back their lost comrade. Some of those games are fantastic. They can be a lot of fun. There was a quest campaign that I ended up running that I had no plan on doing. It just kind of developed because this guy happened to roll a 0-1. That's the fun of playing the game. So like I say, total party kills do happen. Individual player character deaths happen. I try not to make them too frequent, because otherwise, frankly, everybody would lose interest, including me. But I don't stay away from them either. If they happen, they happen. It's up to the players to deal with the situation. I consider myself a fair DM. I try to be very judicious in my decisions and try to make it fun for everybody, not just for me. I try to never go into a game with an idea of kicking the players' butts. That's really it for Behind the Screen today. I would be interested in any kind of comments or questions you might have. I realize that my campaign point of view is possibly different than other people, but it is an experienced point of view. And frankly, it's been a fun 40 years. I look forward to the next 40. So that's it for Behind the Screens. Thank you for watching. Well, that closes the book on another episode of page 121. Please leave your comments below, and if you enjoyed what you saw, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.